Hello, dolls. How we doing? How are we doing? I gotta have more cowbell. Okay, that was the worst. That was bad. That was the worst Christopher Walken. I gotta have more cowbell. Um, yeah. If I weren't so tired, my Christopher Walken would be better. Okay, okay. I just always think of the SNL sketch when I hear this song. Anyway, hi everyone. So today I was gone literally all day. We had to we had to get to the event, which was really far away, by 9 o'clock. So I slept for 2 hours last night because I did that thing where you start having anxiety about every minute that goes by because that's 1 minute less of sleep when you already know you're going to be underslept. And I didn't know what today was going to be. I didn't know if I needed to be like, you know, it was very chill. I can't say too much. I can't say too much, but obviously all of us who are involved in this event tomorrow have posted the first announcement of it. So, what we are doing tomorrow is we are unveiling the new game that 2K has been working on for quite some time, and it is called Ethos. And it's a 2 day event. Today was like getting everything, it's a lot of streamers, it's a lot of gamers. So it was getting us all, you know, situated and introducing us to the game and blah, blah, blah. And then tomorrow, starting at 9, we are all playing the game for the first time. And I don't want to get anything wrong here. And I also don't want to say anything I'm not supposed to say, but there is going to be there's a community element to like something for the viewers type of thing. So I hope that you all can tune in. I know it's really early. It's very early, and it's going to be a lot of gaming. It's basically going to be all day gaming. So if you can't tune in at 9, you can tune in at some point, and I will be there gaming my face off. So, my gaming frogs, you best be showing up tomorrow. You best be showing up tomorrow because it's going to be a lot of gaming. The gaming frogs are going to be spoiled. Yep. Yep, 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 yep. 9 a.m. Lamau. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, anyway, I slept for maybe 2 hours last night because I was just sitting there like, oh my god, it's 3 o'clock, it's 3:30, it's 3:45, it's 4. I'm not sleeping, and so at one point I got up because I went, okay, this is so chalked. So I got up, and then finally you just kind of putzed around a little bit, and then finally got to sleep. Woke up, got over there, um, and that was my whole day. So I got back. I got back just a little bit ago and had enough time to try and pull some. I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about too much tonight. Tonight will probably be a short stream. Cooked TJ, thank you so much for the 8 months. And BT Dubs. But there's two main stories. Obviously, Liam Payne, and then I need to talk about Robert Robertson. Sorry, Robert Robertson. Robert Robertson. And if you don't know who Robert Robertson is, you will find out why I am talking about Robert Robertson tonight. And just be forewarned, it is sad. It is sad, but one main reason why I wanted to go live tonight was to share this story, because this is another man who is completely innocent, who has been on death row, and he is set to be executed tomorrow by the state of Texas. And of course, Greg Abbott, may he rot in fucking hell, is doing absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it is devastating. It is truly, truly, truly devastating. And because his stay of execution, he was denied clemency today, and his execution is set for tomorrow. I want to talk about this story tonight so that, you know, we can make the calls, we can sign the petitions, we can try and do everything last minute, but also just to know who he is and what his story is. That world would be so much better if that tree had finished the job. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, just Texas and Missouri, man. Texas and Missouri. So, okay. All right. So those are my two of my main things for tonight. The VTuber last night isn't too aware of politics, but still knew enough to say free Palestine. That's awesome. I love these raids we've been doing. I feel like we've found some cool, creative, hardworking streamers. So thanks y'all for being the sweetie peas that you've been, and being very supportive in the raids. As weird as it sounds, Teen Vogue has a great headline on the Robertson issue. Teen Vogue has been great on a number of things. I feel like the transformation of Teen Vogue, when they got involved in, you know, they started putting out political pieces, and pieces that were some of which were written by leftists, and Teen Vogue has been a really great source. I've read Teen Vogue pieces before when I've covered topics. But yeah, this is one. Robert Robertson's case is one where it is just another egregious instance of why the death penalty should be abolished. And there are a lot of people who have been working to free this man, including the lead detective of the case, the lead detective who testified for the prosecution, who has spent years now advocating for Robert and saying that he was wrong and what happened was totally wrong and blah blah blah. But anyway, we will get into that. I just want to finish kicking off the stream here. Ooh, I'm feeling sweaty. I'm feeling sweaty. Lord Spew, what's up, buddy? Hi, I have been loving the tune. I'm a big fan. There's some amazing voice talent. There's this one guy, I don't know who he is, but he's so funny. He's really great at voice acting. I think his name's Will. What about and Nandre? I know Nandre though. Yeah, I'm talking about Bodyhead, obviously. Bodyhead, if you have not watched Bodyhead, I've been meaning to watch it on the stream. I just my brain doesn't hold enough space these days to remember to do that. But Bodyhead, which was created by Lord Spew and has been his baby for a long time, and The first 2 episodes are available to watch. I can tell the voice talent is handsome too. So handsome. Great hair. Fabulous hair. Anyway, if you don't know Lord Spew, he is a one of a kind talent, and every time I raid him, he always whips up just the most amazing art of whatever it was that I was doing on stream. So if you're here on a night that we head over to Spew after I'm done streaming, stick around because he always makes something that is just the best. So fun. Have you seen the Pokemon leaks? No. And you guys don't know. You know I don't know what that means. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what the Pokemon leaks are. Do not look up the leaks. Oh my god. How many of you have been dying for me to go live so that you can ask if I've seen the Pokemon leaks? Even though you know full well I don't know dick about Pokemon. I know Pikachu, okay? If I ever get asked what my favorite Pokemon is, Pikachu. Am I just now going to be the streamer who covers football and Pokemon? Oh, you'll know dick after you look up the leaks. What? Are they like... Is it... What? Oh, no. Who? Who did this? What is wrong with people? What is wrong? Game Freak got Game Freaky. Oh my god. Okay. I'm not going to look it up online. I don't even know if it's something I need to look up, you know? Anonymous gifter, thank you for the gifted to Lord Spew. I think after Blue Waffle, I should have really learned my lesson. I did try to look up Polar Bear the other night, but that wasn't anything bad. That just means like I'm old. But Blue Waffle should be the end of me looking up anything online. No, I knew enough. I knew enough to not have my screen up, so the camera was on me. Did you see what Jason got, cutie? I did. Yeah. Yeah, it's so crazy. She already gave it to me, though. It's really quite rude, but I'll take it. She was like, I do not want this. This is not a nice enough Cartier bracelet, so she kind of just threw it at me. She just tossed it at me and was like, here. Here. It's good enough for you. My copy of Ta-Nehisi Coates' book finally arrived today. I'm about halfway through. Oh, okay, wait. I have a funny story before we get into things. Dying Fajita, thank you for the gifted sub. So today, because Will and I were gone all day, and as we know, Farley can't be alone that long, so we always have to try to find him a babysitter. But today Marsh took him. So Uncle Marsh came and picked Farley up, and then took him back to his place. And supposedly, when Farley got to Marsh's place, he and Farley's always, even though he knows Marsh, he's a little he's sensitive. He's a sensitive boy, and so he had been alone for a couple hours before Marsh came to get him, and Marsh is not mom or dad, and so he was like, "Where are we going?" But they get to Marsh's apartment, and Marsh's girlfriend Emma, who's Chinese, is there, and Farley supposedly got so excited. Like, he stopped being nervous and scared and was just over the moon seeing Emma. And so Marsh texted Will and was like, I think Farley thinks Emma's Caroline. or Or he just found comfort in the fact that Emma is also an Asian woman. And so she reminded him of mommy. Farley thinks all Asian women are the same. Yeah, but I guess I hold on, Sweet, I'll answer you one sec. I guess that he was fine then. And Marsh was sending us photos of Emma sitting there eating, looking at him, and he was just sitting right by her looking at her. And he's like, Farley's interesting because actually, you know what? Okay, I think he might have a preference for Asian women, because my friend who watched Farley when Will and I went to TwitchCon, and she stayed at our place, she's also an Asian woman. And Farley immediately took to her, and he's not the friendliest dog. Let me take that back. He's very, very sweet. He's super sweet, but he's cautious. Let's just say. Okay, he's not mean. He's not going to like snarl or anything like that. He's hesitant. He's cautious. He was snuggling in bed with her on the first night, and he's not a nighttime snuggler. He's more of a morning snuggler. Like, I can't always get him to snuggle me at night. Will hold him next to him to make him snuggle. But my friend Christine was sending me photos of Farley just snuggled right up against her. Libertarian dogs with Asian moms. Oh my God. Oh my God. Farley, do you just love Asian women? Do you think that they're all mommy? Are they all mommy? They're all mama. Oh my God. Anyway, I thought that was cute. I thought it was cute though that he saw Emma and was just, his anxiety went away. His anxiety just went away. And he's like, "Oh, she looks like mommy." There's nothing better as a dog mom than your dog liking their sitter. It's so stressful. I love getting happy pup pics from someone watching my pup. It's the best because I do have stress with him because he has separation anxiety. And like, if I were to when I left him with Hassan, Farley was in hell. Okay. Farley was in absolute hell when Hassan had to watch him. And it was mostly Hassan's dad who watched him. But, yeah, like, it was sad. It was really, really sad. Hassan is very strict. And he had texted, was like, "Do you let Farley sleep in bed with you?" I said, "Yes, and you're going to let him sleep in bed with you." Where is my son supposed to sleep? Where do you expect him to sleep? And yeah, so he needs comfort, you know? He needs to feel comfortable. And so I guess we know what his comfort is. But you know what? It's okay. It's not problematic or weird or anything because Farley he's my child, so he's also Asian. That's how that works, you know? So it's fine. It's fine. The photo of Farley and Hassan's dad is so precious. Hassan's dad loved Farley. He kept calling him his little buddy. Like he opened his door to find Farley sleeping outside his door. Farley had followed Hassan's dad and he didn't know, and then he posted up outside. Oh my god, a spider! Ah! It's on the wall. At least it's not by me. But why are there always spiders? Oh, it's... Oh, I gotta get it. Oh, no. Oh, God. Why is Will not always finding spiders? Why am I always finding them? I always just look up. I'll literally, this is what, the fourth time? This is like the fourth time that I will just glance up and see a fucking Spider-Man. Well, not Spider-Man. Okay, hold on. I gotta get this guy. Farley, do not move. Do not move. Okay. I'm gonna capture him in the Elden Ring Cup. Ha! Ha! It looks like the one that bit my ass twice. Both cheeks. He's curled up right now because he's scared. Oh, poor little guy. Even though I bet you'd be coming back. I bet that was your brother. Maybe it's you. Maybe you've come back for more cheek. Maybe you've come back because you liked what you bit into. Okay, I'm gonna let him outside. You know what? I'm gonna I'm gonna put him in on my neighbor's side, who is the one with like the nude self-portraits and is such an asshole. Maybe he could use a friend. Maybe my neighbor wouldn't be such a dick if he had a little friend. Okay. He's gonna do nude self-portraits with the spider now. Oh my god. Hogan, thank you for the gifted, and B Mactara, thank you for the 12 months. Okay. Ooh, goodness. It just always gets my heart rate up when I glance up and I see one of them, because my brain starts doing the thing where I think about how many spiders do I not see, and how many spiders have maybe that I've swallowed. I don't know. Okay. Oh God. Ever see Arachnophobia? Oh yeah. Love Arachnophobia. I watch like maybe every other year. I'm due for an Arachnophobia watch. I think I just saw it on Amazon Prime or something. Okay, Spew, I wanted to see your comment here. Caroline, have you been getting harassment from OTK Asmon drama? I've been getting some comments on my cartoon because they think Bodyhead is an OTK cartoon, calling me a Nazi and stuff. Okay. Where to even begin with that? That's crazy. That is fucking whack. That is fucking whack. First of all, even if your cartoon was an OTK cartoon, you don't deserve that. I know it's laughable. I know it's laughable, but it's still crazy, and it's like it is unhealthy, not normal behavior. And people who are doing that think that they have good intentions, but also remember the people who they, who are actual Nazis also think they have good intentions. So it's something to remember where like good intentions do not make good actions. Do not make good use of words, okay? And we're doing the thing where we call everybody a Nazi, just like we call everybody an incel, and it devalues those words. When you call everybody that, then nobody is that. Do you know what I mean? So let's not do that. Let's not do that, okay? Obviously, no one in here would ever do something like that because that is insane behavior. Absolutely insane behavior. But yeah, it's one of those things where what you are doing is actually not leveling the blame at the person who said the words that were, yes, horrifying, because instead you're going, oh, I'm going to take it out on all these people who I think might have any association with this person. And so you are taking the responsibility away from the person who is responsible. It's crazy. Wild. I will say, so obviously that harassment that you're getting online is not coming from people who are fans of Asmongold, because fans of Asmongold would not be calling him a Nazi. Unless they're like, I'm a Nazi, Asmongold's a Nazi, woohoo, hell yeah. But it's from people who are angered by what he said and are now wanting to direct that anger and that responsibility at anyone that they think has any association with him. So yeah, that's wild. It's Twitter people who have no clue what OTK even is, but saw a viral tweet. What's crazy is when I was quickly looking around on the news today, before I started stream, I saw under World News BBC's article on Asmongold's comments. Like, it's made it to the BBC. Never in a million years would have thought I'd be catching strays from Asmongold drama, you know? I feel you. I feel you on that because I have also caught strays for something that I had absolutely nothing to do with. And in fact, I like it's funny because I am actually very intentional of staying away from staying away from streamer drama, which of course his comments were not streamer drama, but what I said the first day that I talked about it was I never want a situation like this to be turned into drama. I don't like to go tit for tat with stream clips and have it be on LSF and people being like, "Ooh, pulling up a chair, can't wait to see the comments." It's gross. It's disgusting. But even with being so like I'm not talking about that situation, but with other streamer things, right? And there tend to be a lot of the same streamers who just always shit going on. I stay away from that because I just it's not my content. It's not what I want to do here. And yet I get strays too. So people will the internet has given everybody a platform, even if you have even if you have just one follower, you have the ability to say whatever you want to say and access most people that you want to access. And everybody, it's one of those everyone has the right to their opinion, but not everyone's opinion is right. So just remember that. Okay. Did you see Cutie tell Jason that you and Sam are becoming her best friends? Who's Cutie? I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. Who? That's very sweet, but who? That feels like, I'm just going to say right now, I haven't seen that clip and I already know that is not what she said. I can tell you for a fact, she did not say Sam and Caroline are my best friends. I just pulled a Mariah Carey. I'm sorry, I don't know her. Who? J-Lo? J-Lo? I don't know her. I don't know her. No, she was super serious. They were having a moment. Okay, well, forgive me. Forgive me for thinking those were not the words that would have come out of her mouth. You're the people she's getting closer to besides Maya, is what she basically said. Okay. All right. That's sweet. They were having serious time driving home from Disney? Well, I guess that will do it. I guess the drive home from Disney will bring out the deep talks. It will. Moment ruined. You know what though? You know what? I have learned my lessons. Okay. I have learned time and again to not fall for things. So you may understand why I would think that a stream with Jason, that she was like, Sam and Caroline are my best friends. Even if she tried, don't forget this same woman repeatedly tried to sell me into sex slavery. Oh, look at this cute clip of Cutie complimenting you. The clip, Cutie, fuck them. Exactly. All right, so we're gonna start off looking at the Liam Payne news. She was trying to sell your organs. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Excuse me. She was just trying to harvest my organs. That's totally fine then. I should put out a video apologizing. I should put out a video apologizing. My bad. I misunderstood. I misunderstood. But that means she thinks your organs are ripe for harvest. Big compliment. Actually, that's true. I do have great organs. I do. It's just, it's just one of my things. One of my things. I don't like to brag about it. So what I will say before we get into looking at the news of Liam Payne's very sudden death. We must be cautious about not speculating anything, okay? I'm going to start off by saying that. Avoiding speculation while also acknowledging things that were true in his life, and what the events surrounding his life leading up to his sudden death today. And the other thing I will say is that I think this is a situation where people don't know how to grieve. They feel very complicated in their grieving right now, because for a lot of people, Liam Payne, who was a former member of One Direction, was their childhood. He certainly was for my little sister. That was her first musical obsession. My little sister was obsessed with One Direction. She had One Direction all over her room. It was her first concert, and it's one of those where you hold on to those memories. You hold on to that love that you had for an artist, for a music group when you were younger. But those same people who grew up loving One Direction, a lot of them are grappling too with the fact that Liam Payne had been accused of abuse and harassment and had been stalking his ex-girlfriend, who he started dating when she was 18, but most likely 17. They went official when she was 18, but they were first seen together when she was 17. So there was like that weirdness too, and he was 26 at the time. And she, this past week, had actually finally gotten taken out a cease and desist on him. And so this is what I mean by a lot of surrounding events and things that don't paint Liam in such a good picture leading up to his death. And so what I will say is grief is complicated. And I know some people might be like, what the fuck are you even talking about? But just understand that One Direction, even if you were never a One Direction fan, One Direction was huge. The influence that One Direction had on millions of people around this world, including my little sister, means that they are allowed to grieve the loss of someone who they grew up listening to, their music repeatedly. And you think of all the moments you experience when you're younger, heartbreak, happiness, it's a lot. When you're young, emotions just are so strong, and they feel like they'll crush you. And music is something that feels like an outlet. It feels like, oh, they understand what's, they're speaking to me. This is exactly how I'm feeling, and I just don't know how to vocalize it, but this song does. And yeah, and the grieving process in general is so challenging, and not just with somebody who was a former member of a boy band, not just somebody who is a public figure, a celebrity. This happens all the time when somebody dies who did a lot of terrible things in their life, but the people in their life are still grieving their loss, and it's holding all of that, and it's allowing all of that as well, and understanding that grief is not one thing, and grief is not something that there's one correct way to grieve. There's one way that you should feel and nothing else. So and even if you're not grieving like One Direction fans are right now, I think it's still very shocking. Like, I was very shocked by this news, right? I mean, it happens every time a public figure dies so suddenly, and especially at a young age. But so regardless of having been a One Direction fan or not, it is still very shocking. And he had a child, right? He had a young child. He had people in his life. And so what I will say too is fuck TMZ. And that's another thing that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how our current climate is so fucked up that news breaks of somebody's death when that person is famous before the family and friends even get to find out, let alone process. And that is this is a travesty, and it is something that happens all the time now, because we live in a nonstop 24/7 world of constant information, and outlets like TMZ have absolutely no morals and have not been held accountable, and so continue to continue to be so violating in their immediate coverage of a death, of a sudden tragic death. And what TMZ did was TMZ posted an article announcing Liam Payne's death, and they included a picture that partially had his dead body in it. TMZ also leaked Kobe and his daughter's death and pics before his widow / the girl's mom found out. It's disgusting. Yes, TMZ. It's past time that TMZ is has a meeting with the fists of justice. All right, so let's look at this and see what happened here.
Harry Styles' accounts, Zayn Malik's accounts. So.
Good evening. We are following breaking news at this hour. Former One Direction star Liam Payne is dead after falling from a hotel window. The tragic news shocking his beloved fans. The 31-year-old reportedly staying in Buenos Aires weeks after attending the concert of his former bandmate, Niall Horan. Here's what we know right now. The pop singer was staying at a hotel in Palermo, which is a trendy neighborhood in Buenos Aires. According to Telemundo, he fell from his third-floor balcony. Local police say they went to the hotel after receiving a 911 call reporting an aggressive man who could be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. These are live pictures tonight right now from outside the hotel. You can see the crowd surrounding the building and an emergency vehicle just outside the entrance. The boy band star just posting these photos to social media earlier today. And it was just 2 weeks ago when he was greeted by screaming fans as he attended his former bandmate Niall Horan's concert there. Payne was one of 5 members of One Direction, a pop band amassing millions of fans with hit songs.
Yeah, I agree with this thought, but it's like, doesn't the internet just post death of people constantly all the time? This place does on and this place says one on a famous person, it's now an issue. Not throwing shade, just confused by why it's a famous person issue compared to like a local shooting that gets posted all over the place and simply happens all the time. So it's not just suddenly an issue. It's not just now an issue. And I'm mentioning this right now because of what TMZ did today and how that is a perfect example of how foul we have become online in the way that we share death and are so callous and insensitive about about the things that we post and what we seek out, and all these outlets that they're certainly not going to hold themselves responsible. TMZ isn't going to hold themselves responsible. And it is something where we collectively need to be having this conversation about how very, very, very horrific, sensitive images are not treated with the sensitivity that they deserve. So let's just, let's put a pin in that and let's...
Songs and movies, the songs like What Makes You Beautiful, you may know. The group has since been on hiatus since around 2016. NBC's Sam Brock is...
There's TMZ copycats now, too, in my small city. There's an Instagram page that always posts people's cell phone footage of crime scenes, and people are finding out their loved ones are dead from Instagram stories. It's so awful. Yeah, and I know I just said put a pin into it, but I just had a thought that I feel as if this also links with true crime obsession and the way that true crime is also treated so salaciously and so insensitively. And I feel as if it is all part of this same culture of sensationalism and using someone's trauma, using something horrible that happened to someone to score points online, to get a bunch of clicks, to capitalize on it.
Joins us now live with the late breaking details. Sam, what can you tell us?
Sure, of course, One Direction, Tom, is a touchstone for a lot of folks, right? This very popular band over the course of the last couple of decades, really, as you said, breaking up in 2016 or at least going on hiatus. In terms of what we know at this hour, let me set the framework. So the emergency management services in Buenos Aires, in collaboration with police, provided what we know at this hour to Telemundo. So we're primarily operating out of that. And I say emergency services and police because of the details that we're now learning. 31-year-old Liam Payne, according to those services, fell off of his balcony and died somewhere within the hotel grounds. They are also saying that there was a call placed to 911 for a man who was, quote, aggressive and potentially under the influence of drugs or alcohol. That was never clarified, so we don't know definitively one way or the other. That is the backstory as far as Liam Payne and One Direction. This was a group that was formed back in 2010, Tom, during the X Factor reality British TV show, and went on to just incredible lengths and successes. They were the first group to have an album debut at #1 on the Billboard 200, their first 4 albums, according to Billboard. And of course, you have some household names there as well, whether it's Zayn Malik or Harry Styles, Liam Payne, certainly. And now we are in this tragic place in the music world where he has died, and the exact details of how he fell off the balcony are unclear. There are reports ongoing right now from Buenos Aires about some details that we're hearing what could have transpired with police, but unfortunately, none of that is verified, so we can't report it at this hour. But we do know that Payne tragically fell off of his balcony and died earlier today.
And then, Sam, before you go, I want to...
Yeah, and what's happening right now is a proliferation of conspiracy theories, people who are stating assumptions as fact, and it just contributes to... It contributes to this foulness, this really just... this sickening behavior over over something that is horrible and very tragic. And also these people online who are doing this are forgetting the fact that there are people in Liam Payne's life who haven't even been able to process the news. And this goes for, obviously this is the example because Liam Payne died today, but this is not just applicable to the news of Liam Payne's death. It's gross. And TMZ is only part of the problem.
Circle back to this. Have we heard from his team or from his family tonight?
We have not heard from his camp. We have not heard from his family. I did just check Harry Styles' accounts, Zayn Malik's accounts. So far, they have not tweeted or posted or put.
Yeah, and then what happens too is that now why hasn't Harry said anything? Why hasn't Zayn said anything? Why hasn't this person? And then they harass and they harass and they harass. Oh, why hasn't the family said anything? Because everybody expects everything so fucking immediately. They're like, yeah, this person died. 5 seconds later, we all found out. And now we want everything. Now we want to pore over all the statements. Now we want to hear from every single person, and we want it right fucking now. We want it right now.
Anything on social media as a tribute or even shedding any light on what happened to their friend and their former bandmate. But certainly those calls are being placed right now. We're trying to get more information, Tom.
Okay, Sam Brock for us. Sam, we appreciate you on that breaking story. For more on Liam Payne's career and legacy, I want to bring in entertainment journalist and a friend to Top Story, Baker Machado. Baker, so great to have you here. You've covered One Direction. They were one of the biggest bands in the world at the time. And again, their members, when they went solo, they were also huge shoes artists. Talk to me about what this means to the fans.
This is devastating across the board just because they're such a global brand, as you mentioned, being found by Simon Cowell, by the way, in 2010 on the UK show.
Seeing the live stream of people outside the hotel disgusted me. Yeah. I briefly saw that as well.
The X Factor, and all of the songs that they were able to create, 4 #1 song or hits, albums on the Billboard Hot 100, over 50 different albums that are million records that they sold over the course of that period of time. They are a global phenomenon, and each one of them, when they broke up in 2016, went on to do their own things and went on to great success from there. From Harry Styles to Zayn Malik to Louis Tomlinson, the list goes on and on here. We should note that Liam Payne has talked in the past about substance abuse problems. He did check himself into rehab back in 2022 for about 100 days. And then on a podcast in 2023, he did say that he was sober, but he was dealing with sobriety issues at the time. But this was a big moment for him, that he was turning this big corner in his life. He also did say that when he was going to go see Niall Horan's show, he was going there to talk about the past, which I think is really interesting. He's talked about substance abuse problems that he had when he was part of the band as well. So who knows if that was one thing that they got together and talked about. But he was really sort of on the ups. He was going to be putting out some new music next year. He was also going to be in this new Netflix show that was going to be debuting next year as well, called Building the Band, where he was going to be going out looking for the next big boy band. And that's so sad news here.
Yeah, right, because from what people have told me, some of our producers, they were all talented, but he was one of the most talented, right, in this group?
He wrote a lot of the songs for the band, which a lot of people don't really know about. I mean, the thing is yes, Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson and a lot of the other members.
I'm sorry, I don't hear Nicole Scherzinger being mentioned, just fucking Simon Cowell. I just want to point that out. It's not the point. It's not the point. It's not the point. But
get a lot of the recognition, but still, Liam Payne was a really big force within that group, and so this is really devastating. Awful news all over social media here.
So they break up about 10 years ago. What is that last decade? You mentioned some of the issues with substance abuse, but what has that last decade been like?
He's put out a couple different EPs and LPs, but he hasn't put out a full-length album. He's also had some different issues with relationships. He's been, as with Cheryl Cole, as we mentioned, he has a son and a toddler with her. He also was engaged to another girl a few years ago as well. Now he's dating an influencer named Kate Cassidy. So he's had some issues with relationships in the past, but he said...
Okay. English singer Liam Payne, best known as a member...
Yeah, okay. So So a bunch of different problems are happening in the aftermath of the news that Liam Payne died after falling out his hotel window. Oh, sorry, off the balcony. And I want to mention again the connection to true crime, because what people are doing is trying to look for clues, or trying to read into anything that they can to make this into even something that more dramatic and like entertainment almost. And so they're pulling up all of his Snapchat videos from that day. They're doing the armchair detective shit. They're reading body language. And like I said, there are things that are true. Like Liam Payne had addiction issues, and this is something that was known to the public. But what people then are doing is connecting the dots, when that's an insane, gross thing to be doing. Of, well, we know that he would blah, 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 blah. And we're looking at this video here, and he appears to be fine in the video. He doesn't seem like he's under influence. So how could this have happened? Or the opposite of that, whatever. Okay, you're getting everything, every which way. And yeah, please, you're not the Scooby Gang. Stop playing detective and making these speculations. And you just, like, if that's what your mind is doing, if your instinct when seeing horrible news like this is to be like, oh, I'm gonna go look through all of the social media posts of that day and anybody else who was with him, and I'm gonna examine all of this because I'm a detective and I'm looking for what exactly? And then I'm going to come up with my conclusion that will then be stated as fact, will be presented to you like this, like this scary story. And that's not healthy. That is not healthy behavior. The other thing that's happening, a big thing that's happening, is that fans of Liam are going into the social media profiles of his ex, Maya Henry, who, as a reminder, they were public with their relationship when she was 18 and he was 26. Most likely it was the case that they actually got together before she was 18, when she was 17, when they were first spotted together. But regardless, she was a teenager and he was 26 years old. And we will look at, just to have some context here, because what's happening is One Direction fans now are going and harassing Maya Henry. They are blaming her for Liam's death. They are saying that she drove him to commit suicide, which is just, it's sickening on so many levels. And it's like we're doing it again, right? I mean, this happened with Ariana Grande when Mac Miller died. Ariana was blamed for Mac Miller's death. Famously, Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain. I mean, there are still so many people who would swear on their lives, on their grandmommy's life, that Courtney Love murdered Kurt Cobain. Are you happy now? Was a comment I saw a lot. So, like, this is not new. This is not new to go to the when a male celebrity dies, for fans to go to his partner or the ex-partner, especially if they had a very contentious relationship, if there were legal troubles. And this past week, Maya Henry had gotten a cease and desist. And now she's being blamed by hordes of Liam Payne's fans who are looking for somewhere to direct their anger and their grief. And this is not ever something that you should do. Heath Ledger, they tried with his daughter's mom, but his friends rallied around her. Yeah, it's fucking horrible. So here is just some background information. They started dating, or they were first spotted together in August 2018, started dating in September 19, got engaged in 2020, broke up in 2021, got back together 2022, whatever. This doesn't really matter. It's just, it was very clearly on and off. After the relationship was over, his ex, Maya Henry, opened up about her relationship with him. And she talked about the 8-year age gap and how it affected what she felt she could say and she could do because of the power imbalance in their relationship. He's a world famous, world famous member of a boy band, one of the most famous boy bands of all time. And he also was 8 years older than her, and she was a teenager when they first started dating. Here's a couple quotes from her. I definitely chose to forgive a lot of things. When you love someone so much, you have those rose-colored glasses. You're in denial, so you think those things will stop, and they don't. And that just becomes an issue among other issues. 1 week before Payne's death, Henry issued a cease and desist order to the former One Direction singer after she alleged he repeatedly had contacted her. She also shared some details of her alleged experience with an ex, whom she doesn't name but associates with One Direction fans, on TikTok. Ever since we broke up, he messages me, blows up my phone, always from different phone numbers. He'll create new iCloud accounts to message me. A source with knowledge of the situation says Payne was extremely overwhelmed by all the legal issues involving Henry. So this is, again, all of this, I'm only telling you about this not because I'm like, oh, here, it's so important to know every single, all these details about everyone that Liam Payne dated. And this isn't, again, me being like, you cannot be sad or shocked about Liam Payne's death because of this other thing. But it's important to note, because now Maya Henry is the target of a lot of harassment. And this is just another example of how this happens, and how also grief is complicated in that you have to, you have to know that when somebody dies, it doesn't erase the bad things that they did. It just means that grief is complicated. And what people will do is they will be like, you cannot mention any of this because this person just died. And again, there is no one way that you are supposed to grieve or talk about people when they've died, when those people were, had done things in their life that were not good. And especially with this being so close to Liam's death, it is it's something that feels wild to not allow people to acknowledge at all. And I saw tweets that were like, you have to wait at least 1 week before you're allowed to talk about anything. And what do you mean you have to wait 1 week? Is that a law somewhere? Is that written in some book that dictates how we are supposed to talk about people when they die? blaming her after she came out about Liam manipulating her by saying he was going to die if she didn't help him makes, yeah. And also she has said that he would tell her that if anything happened to him, that it was because of her. And so she is somebody who deserves grace in this moment, because what she is going through is unimaginable. You know, it's safe to assume that it is a lot. It is a lot, from the harassment that she's experiencing to the, to the way he would tell her, if something happens to me, it'll be your fault. And I don't know, that part in particular really stood out to me, because my sister dated somebody who would threaten suicide if she wouldn't get back together with him, if she wouldn't take his calls. And it is a horrible thing to do to someone. It's very abusive and disgusting. And what she is feeling must just be a lot. And it's awful that if you go to her Instagram, there are just tons of comments like, "Are you happy now? You did this. You drove him to do this. See, he was right. If something happens to him, it is your fault." In May 2024, she published her first book, Looking Forward, and she now studies writing at New York University. Payne appeared on the Diary of a CEO podcast and announced his split from Henry in June of 2021, saying, "I feel like more than anything at this point, I'm more disappointed in myself that I keep on hurting people. That annoys me. I've just not been very good at relationships. And I know what my pattern of things is with relationships. I feel at this point I'm just not very good at them, so I just need to work on myself before I put myself onto somebody else." This just reminds me so much of what Shia LaBeouf had said too. And I feel like that's where I got to in my last relationship. Maya had written, her book was a fiction book about a pop star inspired by true events. In this book, which she said was inspired by personal journals written during the pandemic while she was still engaged to Liam. In the book, an aspiring model named Mallory falls in love with a former boy band member, Oliver. The work chronicles their whirlwind romance and the protagonist's eventual heartbreak when Oliver grows frustrated with his stalling career. It also touches on themes including abortion, abuse, violence, self-harm, substance abuse, and eating disorders. Though the novel is fiction, Henry told people that it was definitely inspired by true events. The main character, Mallory, is very similar to me, and that's why it was very easy for me to write her character and put the emotion in there. I'm just grateful I have this opportunity and platform to really help be a voice for women. She said her relationship with Payne was no fairy tale. She didn't reveal the extent to which her fictionalized novel mirrored her relationship with Payne, but did get candid about their relationship while promoting the book. Every time I would tell people the story of how we met, they would always say, "Oh my God, it's like a fairy tale. It's like a movie," she said of their early romance. "I feel like I had to put that in the book and take that inspiration because it just doesn't seem real." In Looking Forward, Mallory deals with multiple instances of domestic abuse, including verbal insults and violence when Oliver chases her down the hallway. The character also becomes pregnant, though Oliver tells her that he will walk away from the relationship if she chooses to keep the baby. Mallory has an abortion but suffers severe complications and ultimately enters the hospital to treat hemorrhaging, an experience that Henry went through in her own life. What I went through in real life is very similar to what Mallory went through in the book. I definitely did have some complications, and I did have to go to the hospital alone, she told people of her own medical abortion. She added, "If it were up to me, I wouldn't have done it. But then also, if I were to have made a different decision, then I would have lost the person that I loved. There were definitely difficult conversations about it, but looking back now, things happen for a reason. I just became so desensitized to everything going on that I was like, okay, this is my relationship and this is how it's going to be." And I feel like once you get out of it, you're really like, oh my gosh, what was I doing and why was I there? And the other thing that happens too when someone dies, especially a especially a public figure and one who has a lot of fans. So, you know, this happens with politicians, but it's different when it's an actor or a singer where they have fans who have always treated them as gods, as as people to be held up on a pedestal. And what happens is there is a lionizing, deifying of said celebrity. And so all of what I have just been talking about here, that's not allowed to be talked about in the wake of a celebrity's death. Unless it's like Harvey Weinstein. And then I think most people would be like, yeah, no, fuck Harvey Weinstein. And, you know, the other thing too is that when somebody dies, the bad things that they did, the skeletons in their closet, let's just say, come to the surface. And so even though this isn't something that is just being talked about, it's certainly something that a lot more people now are aware of because Liam Payne died. If you don't keep up with Liam Payne, if you're not, if you're not paying attention to this type of news, then you're not aware of this. And you become aware of it because something like sudden death occurs, and now all of this is being brought to the surface and is making the rounds on social media. And it leads to this, it leads to an outcry of, how dare you? You can't do this. This person just died. And so we have to just be solemn. We just have to treat them like saints. And I don't think that is correct. But I also don't think it's correct to say that you cannot hold any space of grieving or mourning this person because they had done bad things as well. I hate this because it reinforces the good versus bad people rather than recognize people are complicated, our mix of good and bad. It limits our ability to understand how anything can become we can become an abuser. How anybody can become an abuser. Is that what you're saying? There's a lot of people who still act like the One Direction boys are still teens and not men in their 30s and see them as the boys. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. They're just the sweet boys that we love and who have given us so much. And this isn't just, this isn't something that should at all be anywhere near the news of this tragic death. The messaging that he sent to Henry wasn't just limited to her, but also her mother. He'll blow up my mom's phone. Is that normal behavior to you? She asked. According to Henry, the friend told her not to release her book and said that Payne wasn't doing well. If something happens to him, not only are you going to blame yourself, but the whole world is going to blame you. That's pretty chilling, because even though it's not the whole world, it is a lot of people who are now blaming her. And this is sad, right? Because this is a friend who obviously is trying to protect her friend and recognizes the reality of being the ex of a very famous man. And it's sad because what she's saying is like, don't tell your truth. Don't share your voice, because this will have consequences for you, because that's what happens. This is what women, especially women who date famous men, have to deal with. And so this will happen to you. And it's very, it's very foretelling of what is happening right now. Oh, I'm sorry, I read this wrong. Henry discussed pushback she had gotten from one of Payne's friends about releasing her book. You're right. According to Henry, the friend told her not to release it and said Payne wasn't doing well. If something happens to him, not only are you going to blame yourself. Okay, that also changes the context there. Sorry, I read that wrong. That's absolutely providing cover and being like, how dare you say these things, because this is going to be bad for him. And this will have an effect on him, and it will be your fault. You will blame yourself, and the world is going to blame you.
Of the boy band One Direction has been found dead in Argentina. These are live pictures coming in now from Buenos Aires, outside the hotel where it's believed the 31-year-old fell from the third story of a building. Both fans and police officers are gathered outside there, where it's just past 8:30 p.m. local time. Reaction is just starting to come into the newsroom. Paris Hilton is among celebrities paying tribute, saying, "So upsetting to hear the news of Liam Payne passing, sending love and condolences to his family and loved ones. R.I.P. my friend." Liam Payne's family or representatives are yet to make a statement. Well, for more on this, let's go to Beverly Wang, who I believe is standing by in our studios. Beverly is the ABC's national culture correspondent and joins us now from Melbourne. Beverly, you just heard the information that we gave out about this tragic story regarding Liam Payne's death at the age of just 31. Do you have any more information about it?
Look, it's very much a developing story, as you say. This has only happened in the past few hours, and a lot of details are still coming to light. But we do know that Liam Payne was on holiday with his girlfriend, Kate Cassidy, in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and very suddenly, obviously, the shocking news that someone had fallen from a hotel balcony, and then the news came to light that it was Liam Payne. The gossip site TMZ has been criticized and really castigated by fans for publishing some photos of Liam Payne's body, not the full body, but photos that showed really distinct tattoos to confirm the identity.
And these fans better not be, it better not be the same people then who are doing their own version of what they are condemning. Whether they are blaming Liam's death on his ex-girlfriend, whether they are, making up what happened based on, based on their gathered evidence.
And it looks like the website has since taken that down, but obviously people who love One Direction are really shocked right now, and seeing those kinds of photos really pretty distasteful to fans, family members, but there is that. And as you said, there's lots of reaction coming in from around the world. A lot of fans, I think, as this news is rolling in, are kind of reeling. I'm just hearing informal reports of people saying, I gasped, I'm dumbfounded, because you have to remember that One Direction is the biggest boy band of all time. In the 2010s, when they were formed, they were massive. everywhere they went, they were swarmed by fans. They were ever present at that time. So people grew up with them.
Absolutely, highest selling boy bands in modern history. I think this quintet sold over 70 million records worldwide, according to Variety, in the time that they were together, 2010 to 2016. Can you take us back to the early career of Liam Payne and how he became a household name?
Well, it's kind of a famous story, isn't it? All five members of the of One Direction, pardon me, they auditioned for the X Factor with Simon Cowell. They didn't quite make it through to the final phases, but you know, I think it was someone from the Pussycat Dolls suggested that Simon get them all together.
Nicole
and,
Scherzinger.
You know, individually, they weren't quite making it through, but as a group, with all their separate talents and their personalities, they became almost like a second coming of the Beatles, and rose from there. So, in some ways, you know, put together kind of as a group, but they all had their individual talents and all went on to pursue solo careers after the band went on hiatus in the mid 2010s.
And how did that solo career look for Liam Payne?
Look, I think probably the most famous solo career that we can identify from One Direction isn't Liam Payne, but Harry Styles. And so I think if we can draw a conclusion from that, you know, there's always, not everybody's going to make it out of the boy band. And
I'm going to be honest, as someone who's in the fandom and has a lot of nuanced knowledge, it's really weird to hear an outside perspective. Are you talking about me or this news reporter?
Be kind of the anointed one to make the star. I think Liam Payne was having a good go of it. He had a son with Cheryl Cole. He was pursuing a solo career with a lot of collaborations from a lot of people, but I think probably not quite in the standing of his bandmate Harry Styles.
Do we know what Liam was doing in Buenos Aires? We know that so many famous people, they document their lives, so you do get an inkling as to what they're up to. Do you know why he was in Buenos Aires?
Look, there's some unconfirmed reports, so I'll be very clear with that, but I have been reading that he was on holiday with his...
I don't really care to discuss Liam's career after One Direction. Like, oh, he was struggling in his career. He was trying to get the band back
his
together.
Girlfriend. He may have been attending a concert of one of his other One Direction bandmates, and I'm hesitant to say it, but I think there have been some reports of some behavior, again, unconfirmed, of some erratic behavior. We'll have to watch those reports to really make sure.
No, yeah, absolutely. We'll just talk about what we know so far. And you mentioned there some of the reaction. I mean, he's been a household name for such a long time. All those boys out of One Direction, you know, have been. So obviously this is going to be...
Both. I don't mean it in a negative way at all in regards to what you're saying, just that it's kind of surreal. I'm doing a lot of processing of complicated feelings. Yeah, that's it's why I started off this segment covering Liam Payne's death by saying that I understand grief is complicated, and this is something that really seems to happen constantly because people are very complicated, and they are not it's not one way or the other where they are totally good or just totally bad, unless you're Henry Kissinger, and then you're just an evil fucking piece of shit who deserves to burn in the hottest hell. But anyway, I was not a One Direction fan, but my little sister was a One Direction fan, and she's been texting in the group chat of how it feels very strange, and it feels like to her it's her childhood. It's her as when she was a child that is grieving this member of an artist, this member of a band that she loved with her heart and soul and got her through a lot of emotional turmoil when she was in junior high and high school. But how she's also, as a 24-year-old, 23, I think, she's also not as a One Direction fan unaware of the harm that Liam Payne had caused, and also that someone's death does not absolve them of the harm that they caused to others. And so it's like, I don't know. It is a strange thing. It is a complicated thing. And it's not just something that happens with famous people when they die. This happens all the time. When a parent dies and that parent was abusive to you, or, you know, you had a troubled relationship with that parent, but it doesn't mean that their death holds no weight for you and that you are not grieving while also remembering the pain that that person caused you. Pepperoni, thank you for the 13 months.
It's an extreme tragedy for family and friends, but a huge shock for the music industry.
Oh, absolutely. I have no doubt that people will be playing a lot of One Direction in the next few hours, the next few days, kind of reminiscing, thinking about what this band and Liam Payne in particular has meant to their growing up and a part of their lives.
You made that comparison earlier, Beverly, to the Beatles. I mean, they were...
Doesn't that also happen for breakups after a turbulent relationship? Yeah, it happens with all sorts of relationships. Relationships that are romantic relationships, familial relationships. You know, relationships are complicated in that when somebody dies, the feelings around that person's death are often at odds with one another. And so what basically the point that I'm just trying to make is that is normal and is also something that we should understand to be the case. And it means that somebody is not, you know, it doesn't mean that somebody is absolved of the harm that they caused during their life because they are now dead. Death doesn't work that way. Death doesn't work that way, and if I'm the first person to tell you that, well, I guess I'm the first person to tell you that. But death does not absolve somebody of the bad shit that they did. We're almost done with this, by the way.
In the decades that went past between the 60s and the early 2010s when they formed, do you think that they really were a band of the calibre of the Beatles, or just one that has kind of come and the comparisons were drawn given they were young men?
Look, I think that really depends on your taste in music and what you think. I think as time passes, we always kind of look back with a kind of retrospective view and we reassess artists. And so I think perhaps there may have been a tendency to write off the Beatles at the beginning. There may have been a tendency to write off One Direction at the beginning because of, bands that are often the objects of like female fans. They sometimes
really, what is this? ABC News,
they
Australia.
get written off because people don't take what young women like seriously. And I think that's just kind of a broader cultural issue that's very gendered. So I think it's really going to depend on the generation. I think whenever you come to a band and they are with you in your formative years, they're always going to have that really special place in your heart. So a fan of the Beatles might say, I don't think anybody can stand up next to them, but a fan of One Direction might have a totally different view.
All right, whatever. What? Okay. All right. I think that's all I got on this. I think that's all I got. And the Okay. The last in chat, not capable of nuance and critical thinking right now. Shocking. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Grieving is complex. We're just gonna conclude with this. We as a culture need to be much more cautious and sensitive around the sensationalizing and dramatizing and baiting that comes from that comes from a horrible incident, whether it's a school shooting or or images coming out of Palestine, because that's another thing, and it's probably a conversation for another day. But I am seeing people online using graphic images of dead Palestinians, and they are sharing these images in a way that feels like a gotcha, where they are fighting these very internet battles. And I just, on the one hand, Palestinians have asked for videos and images from Gaza to be shared so that awareness is raised and so that the world will stand up and say enough. But that doesn't mean using very graphic, very horrible images to be callous. And even if you are, again, thinking you're well-intentioned because you are pro-Palestinian, you can still be callous. You can still be servicing your own personal interests by sharing someone else's immense pain and suffering. There's a level of gravity that needs to accompany those types of images and videos. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I'm going to move on because I'm really tired and I'm starting to get in a very bad mood. I'm starting to get in a bad mood because, yeah, a lot of people are fucking incapable of having a nuanced conversation and being respectful and not just spitting out whatever dumb shit comes into their head because they're not capable of having a mature conversation. So I'm getting annoyed because I am severely sleep deprived. And I still need to talk about Robert Robertson. And so I'm going to keep streaming because I'm going to cover this story. And then I'm going to be done with stream. Okay? I got banned from a Twitch stream earlier when I made the same point as you, Caroline. Some people are incapable of empathy, nuance, and respectful. Well, that's silly. Not the point, the ban. Piggy, thank you for the prime. Thank you for the prime. Caroline, this week's been a crazy funk. I hope you take it easy. Take it easy. We'll get there. We'll get there to taking it easy. Isn't that the point of the stream and chat, to discuss ideas and offering different viewpoints? Why are we acting like it's a bad thing? People can have various viewpoints. It's nuanced to have a conversation. Are you directing that to me? Because I think you're confusing what is nuance with what is just aggressive and loud. Somebody having a different viewpoint is not nuance depending on how they present that viewpoint, okay? Yeah, aggressively contrarian and just very headstrong. Very headstrong. Okay. Anyway, we're moving on. Great. Okay. We call it debate poetry.
It was important, you know. All the years to me is important, you know, because all life is precious, you know. And I missed out all that, messed up the time with my mother, with my father, the kids, and
I wasn't directing that towards you. I was offering my actual POV without aggression, but I think it was misconstrued. It's fine. It's all good. It's all good. I just want to move on from that part because I am tired and there are people in chat who are being annoying. And so I want to get to this story. It's fine. We're all good.
and everything I had, I lost. You know, all my possessions stuff. I lost all of that. You know.
On January 30th, 2002, Robert Robertson's 2-year-old chronically ill daughter, Nikki, was sick with a high fever and suffered a short fall from bed. Robert woke the next morning to find her unconscious and unable to be revived. Despite his best efforts to get her medical help, she later died. Mr. Robertson was prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced to death under the now discredited shaken baby syndrome hypothesis.
The idea of shaken baby syndrome began in the early 1970s when a pediatric neurosurgeon named Norman Guthkelch wondered why some children he was seeing in his practice had internal bleeding with no or minimal external injury. And so the idea began to evolve that when a child had these medical findings, that they had been shaken. But there's really no scientifically reliable information that would support that idea. But what we can say is that there have been falls from short distances that have resulted in these kinds of findings. There have been medical conditions that result in these kinds of findings, things like sepsis, things like aneurysm, things like stroke. And there have been no reliably witnessed or videotaped shaking events that have resulted in these findings. Later, of course, Dr. Guthkelch came to believe that he had been mistaken in his early work on this hypothesis and that it had been applied incorrectly and unjustly in courts.
Okay, so let's get into this a little bit more. So the paper that was published was not scientific, not peer-reviewed. Okay? It was not a scientific peer-reviewed study, and it is what was used to convict Robert Robertson. And the guy who posited the SPS hypothesis in this paper later reviewed a number of cases of people who had asserted their innocence and had been accused and in some cases convicted of shaken baby syndrome. And this doctor was very shocked by the number of cases where children had a history of illnesses. And what that showed was, oh, wait a second. There are so many cases here where it was believed to be shaken baby syndrome, but these children had chronic illness, and therefore it indicates the injuries were the result of natural causes and not abuse, as was previously determined by this non-scientific study on SBS. And before he died, Dr. Guthkelf told the Washington Post, quote, "I am doing what I can so long as I have a breath to correct a grossly unjust situation." He recognized that the paper that his hypothesis was published in was used to unfairly accuse and convict parents and caregivers of children who had died of natural causes, to convict them of abuse, of shaken baby syndrome. And to date, at least 32 parents and caregivers in 18 states have been exonerated after being wrongfully convicted under SBS. Unfortunately, Robert Robertson is not one who has been exonerated, even though he was wrongfully convicted.
Robert's daughter Nikki was chronically ill from birth. Born to a single mother who was homeless and addicted to drugs, Nikki was taken away by CPS at birth, long before Robert was identified as the father. Doctors prescribed multiple types of antibiotics, which did not resolve her infections. She also had
No more than an hour after I had my son in the hospital, made my husband and I watch a shaken baby syndrome video, sent a paper stating that we watched the video. Oh, yeah. Yep. And they'll do that multiple times, too. But no information was given. There was no mention by doctors or nursing staff of postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. Right. And so the thinking is just, oh, you're going to get so angry with your baby that you will shake it to death. And there's no education and understanding around the cases where a parent or caregiver does shake their child results from things like postpartum depression, results from being so exhausted that you are so sleep deprived, I should say, that you aren't aware of your reality. Like, time and space is not real at that point of sleep deprivation.
Explained breathing apnea that would cause her to cease breathing, collapse, and turn blue. The week before her death, Nikki had continuous diarrhea, coughing, and congestion. Her fever was measured at 104.5 degrees in the doctor's office when Robert took her in on January 29, 2002. But Nikki was sent home with the prescriptions that the FDA now warns against prescribing to a child Nikki's age and in her condition. The next night, Nikki's maternal grandparents, who were supposed to be keeping Nikki, called Robert and told him to drive out to their home in the country to pick her up, even though Nikki was still very sick. Of course, Robert complied.
In case you don't know, so what she was prescribed was Phenargan in cough syrup with codeine, which is an opioid, and it is restricted for children under 18 because of its very high risks in causing breathing difficulties and death. This is something that would never be given to a child Nikki's age, let alone somebody older than her under 18, because of how dangerous it is. And Nikki had a history of chronic illnesses, which included sleep apnea. She already struggled with with her breath stopping while she was sleeping. These were pre-existing conditions that she had. She was a very, very sick child. And the week leading up to her death, Robert had taken her to the doctors every single day, and they just prescribed her these drugs that are no longer given to children her age. And the night that she died, or the night before she died, she had an insane fever. It was like 104-degree fever. Took her to the hospital. And if that were to happen now, that child would never be sent home. They would never give that child, first of all, this medication, let alone just, boop, okay, send them home, they'll be fine.
In the middle of the night, Robert was startled by a strange cry and found Nikki lying on the floor, having fallen out of bed. He couldn't see anything wrong with her, but later that morning, he woke to find that she was not breathing and her lips had turned blue. He rushed her to the hospital. Nikki's later autopsy, reassessed in light of current scientific understanding, shows that she had severe undiagnosed pneumonia that had progressed to sepsis. She was given dangerous medications no longer given to children her age and in her condition. Therefore, her death is entirely explained by natural and accidental causes.
So to be clear, I need everybody to know. I need everyone to be so clear about this. Her father did what he could do, which was to take her to the doctor because she was sick. And the doctor gave him this medication that is no longer prescribed to children, told him to take Nikki home. He put Nikki to bed. Nikki, at some point in the night or early morning, fell out of bed. When Robert woke up, he found that she was non-responsive, that she was unconscious and her lips were blue, and he immediately took her to the emergency room. And there is overwhelming medical and scientific evidence that shows Nikki died of severe viral and bacterial pneumonia. She died of an illness. She did not die because her father abused her.
If we had to take this same case to court today, knowing what there's no way in the world we get a conviction with a set of facts that we worked with. Wouldn't have happened. And I guess that's my challenge to the district attorney now is, if this same case came to you today, what could you possibly have done with it? Your shaken baby notion is gone.
This is Brian Wharton, by the way, who is the lead detective for the police department that investigated Nikki's death, and he testified for the prosecution. And now, for a long time, he has been speaking out and talking about how they were wrong. It was different back then. They believed that if you had these symptoms, then that was an indication of shaken baby syndrome, even though that had not been scientifically proven, and a whole host of other things that are no longer used today in a case in a case that would be similar to this one.
And so you have to go back again to those medical records which don't support anything but a natural death or an accidental death.
Robert had no history of being violent, but he did have a rough life growing up in rural Palestine, Texas.
I would pass Robert in the hall periodically, and I could see bruises on his face, and he was disheveled, and he would be bruised on his face or his arms.
Robert also has disabilities, including autism spectrum disorder, which was not diagnosed until 2018.
He was simple and he was different, and there was no doubt about it. He had almost a Forrest Gump quality about him.
When I first met Robert in the hospital, he struck me as odd. He was not responding typically to the circumstances that he was in. For investigators in that moment, it felt like something was being hidden. My impression of Robert now has changed measurably, I would say.
This was used as evidence, by the way. Nurses and investigators attested to Robert's strange behavior after he found out that, his daughter had died, and his behavior leading up to that. And it is because Robert is autistic, and Robert was undiagnosed as autistic for most of his life, but his autism played such a huge role in his life that he only was able to graduate with an 8th grade degree. He did not go to school past 8th grade because of the challenges that his undiagnosed autism, the challenges that it presented for him. It is horrifying. It is horrifyingly sad. And because, again, this is a case from over 20 years ago, we now have a much greater understanding of autism, and this would not have been carried out in the same way today if Robert's case were today. You would not have nurses and, you would not have medical professionals unaware that Robert possibly was disabled. They would not just chalk it up to he's guilty because his behavior's very strange. And so he's hiding something.
Those things which I counted against him as being an unemotional, potentially guilty individual, I now have a name for it. It's autism.
My relationship with Robert goes into a spiritual advisor, but he calls me Mama Donna, especially since his mother died. Sometimes I feel guilty about saying I'm his spiritual advisor because more often than not, I think he's mine.
What keeps me hopeful? My faith in the Lord and stuff, because one day walking up out of here,
Robert Roberson was one of the first 28 guys that were selected to participate in the faith-based program. They were vetted for 3 years. Their disciplinary record was looked at for the past 3 years. If they had any type of disciplinary cases, they weren't going to be allowed to participate in the faith-based program. So there's so many different programs that these men took, and he graduated from 10 of them during the course of 18 months.
Autism isn't a disability. I'm autistic. No, it's not. I don't think as an autistic person that you get to determine how every single person's autism works for them. I'm just letting you know that you're wrong. You are very wrong. It is why it is a spectrum. Okay? Autism is on a spectrum, so your autism may not be a disability for you, but for Robert, autism is a disability for him. So, whoa.
I want people to know that I'll be there for them. I'll be there for them, and I'll do all I can do to be the best me.
I know a lot of men on death row, but there's very few of them that I believe are innocent.
Like, my God, I'm kind of blown away by that, because I would never go, if speaking about, like, if as an Asian person, something that they have dealt with in their life, I would never go, as an Asian person, that's simply not true, because that's something that I have never myself dealt with. Those are obviously very different examples, but it's what I can offer, because that to me is like, oh, I'm going to speak for every single person who falls under this umbrella, as if my personal experience is therefore what is true for all of these people. Okay.
I believe they all have stories.
Is there something that can be done for Robert on our end? We're gonna, I'll get there. We'll look at what is on the Innocent Project's website.
They all
which,
have
of course,
mitigating circumstances involved in their crime. But there's very few men back there that I really believe is innocent. And I spent 28 and a half years in prison, so I know what an innocent guy in prison looks like.
Not all disabilities are debilitating
My
as well.
opinion is that Robert is innocent, And I think that the state of Texas is making a mistake.
I hope that because they cannot use the evidence that basically was used against him, that he will walk a free man, that he'll be able to put his arms around his kids again, that he'll be able to put his arms around his wife, that he'll be able to put his arms around me, and that he can use what has happened to him to make other people's lives better, which is what he wants to do.
Robert should not be where he is. The system failed and continues to fail. Somebody has to intervene here, or an innocent man is going to be killed by the state of Texas. There is no doubt in my mind that he is an innocent man, and we are working hard. For some reason, the state of Texas is working hard to kill him.
Yeah, okay. So here's here's the Innocent Project's website. Sorry, I just okay. Tomorrow Robert is set to be executed, so ways to try and stop this: calling Governor Abbott, the number is listed there, signing the petition to stop the execution, sharing Robert's case on all social media channels, using your voice, creating an Instagram post, reel, or TikTok to share the background of Mr. Robertson's case, the reasons he's innocent, and all the missteps in this miscarriage of justice. It's, yeah, I mean, look, guys, we know the reality of, we just watched this happen. We just watched this happen with Marcus Williams in Missouri. And we also know that Greg Abbott is an evil man. And so the likelihood that his execution is halted tomorrow is incredibly low, pretty much nothing, but it's still it's still worth trying, of course. But the bigger picture here is pressuring Democrats to put abolishing the death penalty back on their fucking platform. It is past time. It is past time that we abolish the death penalty. And we couldn't save Marcus Williams. We most likely won't be able to save Robert Robertson, or, you know, all the people who came before Marcus, before Robert, who were put to death, who were legally murdered by the state. But the hope is that we bring this to an end. That state-sanctioned murder will not be something that is constitutionally legal. I'm going to read this opinion piece by John Grisham. John Grisham, who, of course, is a very famous novelist, and he has been a very big voice for Robert and has been trying to raise awareness and have Robert's execution stopped. John is also a retired lawyer. Before it's too late, say a prayer for Robert Robertson. Barring a miracle, he will be killed on Thursday in the death chamber at Texas's Huntsville prison. Robertson has spent the past 22 years on death row for a crime that perhaps never occurred. It definitely did not occur. And now Texas is hellbent on executing him. The death penalty should have no place in a criminal justice system plagued by wrongful convictions. Robertson's case illustrates the problem. A bipartisan majority of the Texas House, 86 lawmakers, urged the state to grant him clemency. The detective who investigated the death of Robertson's daughter, Nikki, now lobbies for his release. And Roberson's legal team has assembled a group of experts, scientists, and doctors with impeccable credentials who contend that his conviction was based on the since-refuted application of shaken baby syndrome theory. All agree that his daughter probably died of viral pneumonia, not physical abuse. The evidence is assembled and available to the Texas authorities, but no one with the power to stop Roberson's execution is paying attention. The court slammed all the doors on the basis of technicalities, and even politicians' pleas have been ignored. Here are the facts of the case. Nikki was 27 months old when she died in 2002. Throughout her short life, she was a sickly child. Roberson, her biological father and custodial parent, took her to see a doctor many times in the month before she died. In the final weeks, she vomited, coughed, ran high fevers, and had constant diarrhea. Doctors at the Palestine, Texas hospital prescribed Phenergan and, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, whatever, and codeine, 2 dangerous drugs no longer given to children because they inhibit breathing. When Roberson rushed his daughter in for the last time, she was turning blue and not breathing. While the doctors worked frantically to save her, nurses and police labeled Roberson's lack of emotive behavior bizarre. He did not seem to be as agitated as most parents would be under such dire circumstances, they said. On death row years later, Roberson would be diagnosed as autistic. The nurses testified against him. After Nikki died, examiners settled on the cause of death as shaken baby syndrome without reviewing crucial evidence, scans of Nikki's head from before her death. At the time, American prosecutors aggressively convicted hundreds of parents, grandparents, babysitters, and other caregivers for infant deaths using the dubious medical hypothesis of shaken baby syndrome. If a small child in distress was presented to an emergency room and showed evidence of a swollen brain, hemorrhaging retinas, and bleeding under the subdural membrane, authorities assumed the child had been violently shaken regardless of whether there were outward signs of physical trauma. It was standard that if a child exhibited those three those three mentioned symptoms, that the analysis was shaken baby syndrome. And now we know that, one, this hypothesis was not scientifically founded, and 2, this has since been tossed out. The scientific and medical community has reversed this belief, this standard, and so it doesn't exist. And it's why were Robert brought to court today for his daughter's death, the evidence that was used to convict him would not be used today because that is not the standard anymore. I've actually talked about this on my stream before. I did some research on this in law school. This case, or the shaken baby syndrome hypothesis that's been thrown out, but how it was used in a lot of cases. The fight to throw it out. Got it. At the time, American prosecutors aggressively convicted hundreds. Oh, sorry, I already read that. The last caregiver was the child. With the child was the presumed perpetrator. Guilt seemed automatic. Juries showed little sympathy. In the past 15 years, however, experts have disputed the science behind the SBS hypothesis, and at least 32 parents and caregivers have been exonerated in cases involving SBS. Several appeals courts have reconsidered convictions based on SBS, including in Texas itself. Medical and scientific research has shown that the 3 symptoms can also be caused by disease. In Nikki's case, experts hired by Roberson's legal team, who analyzed samples of her lung tissue and stand ready to testify that she died of severe pneumonia, not from physical abuse, and that the Phenergan and codeine suppressed her breathing. Unfortunately, the full picture came into view long after Roberson was convicted, as often happens in such cases. At the time of his trial, he had no money to hire a trial lawyer or to call experts. though 20 years ago it was difficult to find an expert who did not pay homage to SBS. From the beginning, during jury selection, Robertson was portrayed as a child abuser and baby killer, excluding other potential explanations for Nikki's death. Texas courts have failed Robertson at every turn. Time and again, the Court of Criminal Appeals rejected his appeals and efforts to bring forward new evidence. Just last week, the CCA refused to hear what will probably be his final petition. The countdown grows louder. At this point, only Texas Governor Greg Abbott, the CCA, or the U.S. Supreme Court can intercede. As dozens of wrongful convictions have demonstrated, the American criminal justice system is flawed. That a state can approve death while refusing to consider critical evidence should give all Americans pause. Are we more willing to accept a potentially innocent man's execution than to revisit a case? In the coming days, Robertson should be spared from death and granted a new fair trial.
A Texas man is facing execution tomorrow evening after his appeal for clemency was denied today. Robert Robertson would be the first person in the U.S. to be executed for a murder linked to shaken baby syndrome. But CBS's Nikki Batiste reports some medical experts say his conviction was based on faulty and outdated scientific evidence.
The lead detective in Robert Robertson's case told a panel of Texas lawmakers this morning.
We're not going to rehash the death penalty again because I just recently did that when we covered Marcus Williams. But I will just say again, abolish the death penalty regardless of guilt or innocence. Will, my love, I take it that you're done with the podcast. So I'll see you soon. I'm finishing up because I feel myself fallen, and I'm gonna finish this story. As I was saying, death penalty is wrong no matter what. It's not just wrong in the case of somebody who is innocent. I do not stand for state-sanctioned murder. I do not believe that the death penalty is moral and justified.
Morning, he'd gotten it wrong.
He's an innocent man, and we are very close to killing him for something he did not do.
Brian Wharton first met Robertson in the emergency room when he brought his 2-year-old daughter, Nikki Curtis, to the hospital, where she later died. He told Wharton his daughter was sick and had fallen off the bed while sleeping.
He wasn't behaving the way we thought he should. It was odd. His child was in the emergency room. She was in desperate circumstances, and he was not particularly emotional.
Robertson was diagnosed with autism after his conviction. The condition can sometimes make it difficult to express emotions in ways that are socially appropriate. Wharton says he's ashamed he misunderstood the behavior.
How did that change your feelings about what you saw that day?
Well, it made everything make sense. Now I can understand it. It would have been nice to have known back then, sure.
Robertson was immediately accused of shaking his daughter to death, but his defense team says an autopsy later revealed his daughter died from pneumonia, and the credibility of shaken baby syndrome is now in question.
Robert was instantly judged with suspicion.
On Tuesday, Gretchen Sween, Robertson's lawyer, asked the U.S. Supreme Court to halt his execution. Robertson has 2 other children.
Robert is this very sweet, simple soul. And what he has always said is that we have to keep hope. And he refers to this letter he got from his other daughter when he was sent away to prison, which said, "Daddy, don't ever give up hope."
The one person who can still pause Robertson's execution is Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He could issue a 30-day reprieve. Since Abbott became governor, more than 70 inmates have been executed. Only 1 has been granted clemency. Robertson is scheduled to die by lethal injection.
Greg Abbott lives for the spilling of blood. Greg Abbott lives to kill others. Greg Abbott stands for nothing but violence. He is a monster. He is a monster of the highest order. a literal demon.
In 24 hours. Nora?
Nikki Batiste, thank you very much.
Yeah. One guy he pardoned who killed a protester. Okay. This is Brian Wharton. And I think this was this maybe after the news that the clemency was denied.
Profound pleasure to introduce Brian Wharton.
Okay, Farley, hold on. Hold on.
Let me start by pushing back against one thing. We throw around the word hero way too much. If simply living your integrity becomes heroic, we are in dire straits, right? Okay. So yes, I was involved in the initial investigation of Robert Robertson's case. We did very quickly focus on him, and everything seemed to agree with our focus, to include that which was coming from the hospitals and from the medical professionals that followed us. We were somewhat dependent upon what they told us, and what they told us was shaken baby and there's your man. And so that's the direction everything went, to the exclusion of all other possibilities, really. And so he went to trial on our case. I was very unhappy with the course of the trial in those days. I didn't give voice to it. I was just alone in my thoughts. I thought, there were some issues there with a vigorous defense, no testing of his mental acuity, and then the introduction of a sexual assault claim that was never, ever corroborated by any form of evidence. So when Gretchen showed up at my house years later and asked me if I would have a conversation with her, I invited her in and told her, I've kind of been expecting someone to show up, because I knew the appeals were still ongoing. Let me just say, since that time to this day, I've become convinced that Robert is an innocent man. The foundations of our case were in shaken baby syndrome, and that is gone. Okay, that's not science. That was an idea that became science because enough people said it enough times. We know how that works in our culture these days. It just isn't it. I've had the pleasure of spending some time with Robert. I'm in a church that's fairly close to him, so I get to go visit him. Let me just say, Robert is an innocent man. But more than that, he's a kind man. He is a gentle man. He is a gracious man. I was talking to the legislators earlier, and they talked about their visit with him, and how strange it was when they got to the end of that. Robert prayed for them. They didn't pray for Robert. And that's been my experience every time I visit him. Robert, his personality, his joy, his hope, that's what comes out. He prays for me every time I'm there. He's a special man, and I'm ashamed that I missed that 20 years ago. We were looking for an offender. We labeled him as such, and we made it stick, all based on junk science. And I can tell you today, he is not an offender. He is completely innocent. And we owe it to him, all of us, not just the witnesses. All of us as citizens of the state of Texas have work to do to right this. These kind of things happen. Innocent people spend time in prison. Innocent people are put to death because the citizenry has gone on about their lives. Because we quit caring. And we quit paying attention. So please, pay attention. Innocent people are in prison, and an innocent man is scheduled to die Thursday. So, anyway, that's me.
What has it been like for you to watch this play out in your own community?
My community is very supportive. I've stood before my congregation and told them what I did and what I am doing. A large number of them were here with me this morning. They've been very.
I think this has.
This is death row, and this man doesn't have long to live.
Yeah, let's watch this one.
I haven't seen him in more than 20 years. Good morning, Robert.
Morning to you, Brian. Brian or Mr. Wharton?
Brian's fine.
Oh, okay.
I am, let me just say, I am so sorry that you're here. And so sorry that you are still here.
Yes, sir.
It's our failure.
Yes, sir.
It truly is. But he's never been far from my mind. Why? Because I helped put him here, and he didn't deserve it. In 2002, I was the chief detective in the police department in Palestine, Texas. A 2-year-old girl was fighting for her life. Her name was Nikki.
Also, to be clear, police looking for an offender and therefore doing whatever it takes to get an offender, even if that offender is coerced into confessing, even if that offender has their rights violated. That still happens today. This is not something that just happened 20 years ago when Robert Robertson was arrested and then convicted of this crime.
She had been brought to the hospital by her father, Robert Robertson.
Robertson told staff they were sleeping in their Palestine home when he woke up and saw Nikki unresponsive, having fallen off the bed.
When I got to the hospital...
Bro looks a little creepy, though, not gonna lie. I just need you to sit with yourself for a second. Was that something that needed to be said or should ever have been said? I just want you to, really think. Was that something that I should have put in chat because there's any worth to those words? Do you not understand that what you just said right there is one of the reasons that Robert was convicted for a crime that he didn't commit? He is an autistic man who was, by the testimony of nurses and detectives, creepy, unfeeling, acting in a way that a normal person wouldn't act upon finding out that their child had died. So you have totally missed the entire point here. And that is a disgusting comment to make. And I just want you to sit with yourself for a second and think about what you said. And think the next time that you want to open your mouth and say something disgusting like that, which shows that you are not paying attention to anything here. And you are part of the problem. So let this be a learning moment. Let this be a learning moment for you so that you never do that ever again.
Robert wasn't showing any emotion. His daughter is dying, but he doesn't seem to care. The medical staff
All right, I'll shut up now. Sorry. Yeah.
were talking to me about shaken baby syndrome. That's when an infant is killed or injured after being violently shaken. Nikki would die the following day. If she died of shaken baby syndrome, then there was only one person who could be responsible. So we arrested Robert. He was tried, convicted of murder, and sent to death row. That was 2 decades ago. Since then, I have left police work and entered the ministry, but I've never been able to forget Robert Robertson. This case has been a burden on my heart and my spirit. Let me just say that you have never been far from me, and I'm convinced we did the wrong thing.
I think if it would have been properly investigated more, we wouldn't be here sitting here now, probably, you know.
Yeah.
But
no other possibilities for her injury were considered. I regret deeply that we followed the easiest path.
It was bad enough, me losing her, right?
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't do anything now to bring her back,
I would occasionally check this website to track his status. When I'd see his name, I'm thinking to myself, good. Somebody's still working with him through the appeals process. An appeal has got to straighten this out, find the truth. I tried to move on. I would comfort myself and say, look, the system did what the system does. He's got an attorney, he got his Miranda warnings, we went by the book, he's where he's supposed to be. But several years ago, someone appeared at my door. It was Robert's attorney.
All good
And I
here in
told
the
her,
land of the law.
I've been expecting you. Sadly, I guess it took her.
Yeah, we followed the laws, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with the laws, and so therefore there's nothing wrong with what we did.
At my front door for me to find my voice again. I now understand that Robert did in fact have autism.
It's hard for me to express myself in certain things and stuff. I had lots of things I was going to talk to you about, but
Even aside from the autism, which was adding to his mannerisms, everyone deals with grief differently. Emotional shock and numbness is not an uncommon response to trauma. Yeah, this is something that we still do too, even though, our understanding of autism is a lot different now than it was 20 years ago. Our evaluation of how people grieve, and this ties into what we were talking about earlier, of there being one way that you should show grief, otherwise it's wrong. And yeah, it's very true that aside from autism, there's also this expectation of how you should behave when you are grieving, and if you fall outside of that, then something's wrong here.
But sometimes you get wordless, wordless and stuff,
I understand. Yeah. Autism.
And to be clear, we have learned a lot about trauma and grief as well, right? We are progressing. We, would never have had, we wouldn't be having this conversation 20 years ago because we didn't have this understanding. But it is still a problem. It is still something that is that is prevalent in society, is this belief of how you should behave when you are grieving.
Explain Robert's flat affect and lack of emotion in the hospital. It's absolutely insane that this never came up in his trial. I've now come to understand that Nikki was a very sick child and that some of those medical issues could have very easily.
Why was he alone with a baby? Okay, you're taking a fucking week off. Why was he alone with a baby? You're taking a week off. I'm over it. I'm fucking over it. And I don't want I just got here, because I'm sick and tired of people being like, well, I just got here, I didn't know, but saying the most annoying fucking things. If you just got here, then fucking listen. Would you walk into a classroom? Would you walk 45 minutes late to class and then announce to the class, well, what's going on here? Would you have some assumptions of something when you hadn't heard anything of what was discussed? Good God. Be fucking normal, people. Truly. And if this is how you would behave in real life outside of a Twitch chat, that's also not okay. Get your fucking act together. Get yourself together. Be better.
Played into the injuries that ultimately killed her. And shaken baby syndrome, it's been substantially discredited by many in the medical community. Not only is there reasonable doubt that Robert did do it, there is unassailable doubt that Robert did do it. But for us at the time, we really felt like we were doing the right thing.
Yes, sir.
What do you want to say to me? Me and the folks that helped put you here.
I would like to let y'all know I forgive y'all and stuff. Forgive y'all and stuff. You know, just hope and pray that we can make things right together. You know.
Yeah, I hope so too, and I appreciate your forgiveness. It means a lot to me. We as human beings are incapable of producing the kind of fairness and justice required to take someone's life. We can't do it. And since we can't do it every time in the same way, justly and fairly, then we don't need to be doing it at all. In the United States, and certainly in the great state of Texas, we need to abolish the death penalty.
Yeah.
And thank you, Brian.
I'm praying for you, brother.
Okay, praying for you too, brother.
Humans are too fallible to do this fairly. We make mistakes. I made a big mistake. It's a weight.
And it's also not just mistakes. It is the system working as the system is designed to work.
I will carry for the rest of my life.
Oops, I did not mean to click on that. So a reminder, I'll link this with the information in it, that these are the various ways to try and stop the execution from happening tomorrow, but it is the horrible reality of knowing that it's most likely going to happen tomorrow, and what we need to do, what we should be doing, is making sure that this comes to an end. This must come to an end. We cannot continue to live in a country that legally puts people to death. Yeah. Many of the same pro-life people who cannot wait to take somebody's life. Motherfucking Greg Abbott. Motherfucking Greg Abbott, Mike Parsons. I mean, these people are evil individuals, but they are part of the system. Let's not forget that, you know? This is not just Greg Abbott. This is not just Mike Parson. And it's why the Democrats silently taking the death penalty off their platform is so cruel and wrong. And I do not think that enough people are outraged about that. And that is another example. I know we have talked about Democrats going to the right on immigration and their, genocidal policies, their unconditional support of Israel. But this is another thing that is unbelievably awful, and illustrates again that the Democrats are fucking bloodthirsty. This is just another example of how they do not care about life. They do not care about they do not care about peace, and they just they stand for violence. Yeah, okay. So Synergy, thank you for the gifted sub. Bahan, thank you for the 8 months. So I would like something that is good to end the stream here because I don't like usually I'll do some lighthearted reacts or some gaming, but I'm not doing that because I'm very tired and we got a big day of gaming tomorrow. But I would like something positive, something that's, I don't just want to end the stream and I just don't want to be like, bye, see you guys, gonna leave you with that because it's very heavy. It's a lot. Yeah, some type of palate cleanser. If we've got if you've got one, I am open to a palate cleanser here. Not because I think my brain thinks too much. I'm like, no, it's not because I'm like, oh, we're so sensitive. We can't handle, bad things and bad news. We just gotta make it all better. It's not that. My brain is too much. Edit of the 444 curse yesterday. Perfect. Great. I just want something that's on something. Also gonna be a little bit silly here. That a white lady who's named Doreen Virtue. So this is from yesterday's stream. Who made this? Let's see. Biomisk. Okay, thank you, Biomisk. Which that's not her real name. Okay, her last name is not really Virtue. That's made up. This is Doreen Virtue. She looks exactly how you would think that she looks. I have to pee, so I'm going to show you guys
Darth
this
Nail,
video.
thank you for
Watch
21
the beginning of
months.
it. When I come back, I want you to be fully indoctrinated. Look for 444. 6666 dicks, 6 dicks. Or 888, where if you switch out the 8 and put in 2 zeros, it's boob. Oh my God, William Neff gifting 5 subs right when I said boob? Right when I said boob? That feels not like a coincidence. I don't.
Ah, fuck. What
My
was the
keyboard is on. Yeah, look.
I know.
Nico. I don't understand what has happened. I just cannot click anything. Okay. Okay, that will. Okay. It's not working. Nothing is working. I'm sorry to the numbers.
Doing
okay.
Earl Alt Delete.
I'm sorry to the numbers. I will take it seriously. I swear. Anything. We are not back over here. Oh my God, these angel numbers are devil numbers.
4 for 4. 4 for 4.
Wait,
okay.
Wait, what is happening? I just heard 4 for 4. What is going on? Why did he just say that? It just all went black, and then this popped up. Oh, I can move it. Should be good then. Okay. It's so stupid. Oh my God. It's so silly. Oh man, I'm gonna be honest though. Will saying 444 was wild. That was one of those I was here moments. It was when I was under the desk and I didn't even have my headphones on and I just heard 444 and I went, it can't be. Henza, thank you for the 16 months. Anonymous, thank you for the bits. Caroline fought God and won. I did. I was there for this. It was a fucking wild ride because I was working on my college homework. I couldn't look away at the crazy technical issues. We all became believers last night. We did. We all became believers. All right. Okay. Who are we rating tonight? Let's see. Let's get somebody who's live. And okay, I'll start putting in some names and see who we got. No. Okay, this person is not live. Let's try the next. Nope. Let's try the next one. Nope. Also not live. What about? Nope. Okay, let's see. This person says if I read them, they'll put a picture of Nandre as their screen background. But no, they are not live. Okay, let's see. Let's try another person. Nope. Boop, 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 boop. Ba-da-ba-ba. I might have to raid someone that I know if I can't. Oh, Paganox. Okay, Paganox is live. Paganox says I cover Indigenous, Canadian, and international news from a queer Indigenous perspective. I ever try and teach chat not just about these issues, but the many ways one can show solidarity for worldwide issues. Okay, alrighty. Y'all, I am thankful for you being here. I know it was a shorter stream. I also don't want to leave you in despair. I don't. And I'm a broken record at this point, talking about how I talk about things that I think are important oftentimes on this stream, but I also do not want this to be a place that is just so heavy all the time. And that's just bad news. Because I know for a lot of you, you read the news outside of my stream, right? Or you watch other Twitch streamers who do news and politics, and so you get a lot of it. And I just I don't know. It's such a I think this will be my constant struggle. I do. I think I will constantly feel this push and pull between wanting to bring you joy and entertainment. And I am an entertainer. Let's not forget, I am a theater major. I come from the stage and I love to entertain. But I also, there's a lot of things that I care about too. And I'm an educator in my heart. And I want to share that with you all. And I still cannot believe that that is possible on a place like Twitch, whereas we've seen a lot of what exists on here and what is very popular on here is the opposite of what of who I am as a streamer, who you are as a community. Make sure you schedule some time to pamper yourself this week. Will Neff's giving me a foot massage. Anyway. Anywho, I know I say this all the time, but I'm gonna keep saying it. So I hope you all stay with me on this journey, and I am always trying to balance things. And so if it gets too heavy for you and you're like, oh, I know I'm already depressed and I'm aware of this, I understand that. Take a break, and also know that I don't want it to just all be doom and gloom either. Okay. Alrighty. So it's good for, yes, all of us practicing self-care, of course. All of us getting off our computers as well, getting off of the internet, and just doing all the things that we gotta do, and I hope tomorrow that you will join at some point throughout the day, because we'll be gaming all day, and it should be fun. So we got that tomorrow. We got gaming tomorrow. One of the best things you do for a lot of people is provide revolutionary optimism. For example, during the encampment streams, you showed how and why to fight with excitement and humanity. Thank you, Sophia. And I need to remember that. Because that is how the example I want to set. I do not want to be doom and gloom, because I do not think that is productive at all. I don't think that's good for us, and I don't think that is I don't think that is what people need. So hearts, love this community, even when I get annoyed. Love this community. Some of y'all need to just have a little moment with yourselves, but love this community and appreciate you all, and I will see you tomorrow. I will be live on my stream, so I'm saying bye. Oh, I thought you were about to be like, you need to go to sleep. You want to say bye to everyone? Yeah. I'm saying bye to everyone. I was just saying that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he's here. Say bye before my raid sends. Any advice? Any words for the people? Anything?
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith. That was perfect. That was what we needed. I mean that. Keep the faith. Also, I found another fucking spider, Will. It's devastating. Yep, a spider. No, it's not my fault. Okay, good night, everybody. Good night, everyone. 444. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.